Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. Thank you guys for joining me and hanging out with me as we get into what is going on in the world, especially with stuff with Ukraine and Russia. I hope you're ready for this ride. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Welcome to the revolution. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. If you want to support my show, you go to buymeacoffee.com/Derek O'Shea Show. Link is in the description below. Let's get the show started off with just a fun little comment. Oh, wait. I'm going to do this first. Perfect. Let's get the show started.
Of America, States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Go get him. Thank you. Go get him.
Who are we getting? I am not totally sure, but you need to go get him immediately right now. As we go on to see what's going on right now, some breaking news. Russia orders Russian website delete article blocked, whatever. 2 explosions light up the Kiev sky. Kiev. This explosion. Now this is an intense explosion. Check this out.
In Ukraine. Elaine? What the hell was that? I know. I don't know. It's almost like lightning. Because it's a big flash. And then
Wait for it. Oh my God. That is nuts. Ooh. This is crazy how sound travels so much slower than light.
it was close.
That was
enough to
beyond
see the
close.
Flash.
That flash, I want to see that flash one more time. That was
It's
nuts.
like lightning. Because it's a big flash. And then
Jeez. And then breaking large explosions reported over Kyiv. Here's another look.
Ебать, опять же. Ебать, опять же.
All right, it's nuts. More than a million refugees have fled Ukraine to neighboring countries, UN says. 1 million. If you want to disrupt a country, create a bunch of refugees. That's the fastest way. I mean, it's really devastatingly sad. We'll check on what's going on in the world as BBC breaks down what's going on in Russia. Russia faces war crimes probe for Ukraine invasion. CBS international correspondent Charlie DeLagata. That's what the blast we literally just watched together. Nuts. We have Russian troops take control over the city of Kherson. Russian forces have seized control over a key port city in the southern Ukraine, the mayor says. And the mayor reportedly also says that they need to follow the Russian leaders of whatever they have going on.
The International Criminal Court has now launched a formal investigation into whether war crimes have taken place in Ukraine. A week on, and Russia is intensifying its onslaught on major cities. Ukrainian officials say a Russian bombardment in the eastern city of Kharkiv has killed 21 people. Across the country, Russian forces have intensified their attacks. Kiev has also been the target of intensive air and artillery attacks. Ukraine says it shot down 2 Russian planes in the area. It comes after 5 people were killed in an attack on the city's main TV tower and Holocaust memorial. Officials in the southern city of Kherson say they were completely surrounded by Russian artillery, while the mayor of Mariupol, which is in the southeast, has reported mass casualties. Sky's Alex Rossi now reports from the city of Dnipro as the Russian assault continues.
The attacks are more and more intense, with Russian forces now using heavy weapons in civilian areas. In the second city of Kharkiv, a university building crumbles after a missile strike. It's clearly not a military target. This place is home to 1.5 million people. For those remaining, nowhere is safe, even the bomb shelters.
I have kids at the age of 8, 10, 11, 12 and 13. All of them are afraid they will destroy Kharkiv for sure. They have no limits, they have no moral, they have no one human feeling. They bombed the district where I live, including school, the school when my kids studying. And of course, they see these pictures and they're shocked.
On the south coast, on the Sea of Azov, the situation is also increasingly difficult. Many of the coastal towns are cut off, including Mariupol, a vital target if Russia's to create a land bridge to Crimea. Many of the city's residential areas have been shelled, with fears hundreds of civilians may have been killed. Vladimir Putin's forces appear to be frustrated. The Kremlin claims that 498
Not sure if I believe that.
troops have been killed in the first admission of casualties in this conflict. But the true number is thought to be much higher.
I'm at the point now, it's like, if it feels like propaganda, it's probably
Is
propaganda.
obvious. These jets ripping over the town of Irpin before unleashing their bombs.
Jeez.
On the ground, extensive destruction. These residential buildings in pieces. In the capital, Kiev, not far away, the advance has slowed, but the violence has not. Emergency services video shows the aftermath of a missile strike on the capital's landmark radio and TV tower. One of the 5 victims, a journalist, has been named as Yevgeny Sakun.
Jeez.
The blast spread over a huge area, damaging the Holocaust memorial. But people across Ukraine are showing remarkable courage. The mayor of a town in the east rallies his citizens.
Вони нам поставили умови зараз. Якщо ми починаємо супротив, вони розносять місто артилерії. Якщо за, воюємо.
А что ты не хотел вчера палить?
Хто за те, щоб воювати? Воювати!
It's good.
Конечно,
За те, щоб воювати!
конечно.
And the resistance is getting stronger, with more and more volunteers joining local forces.
Hey guys, doing today? Get in the chat. Let me know how you're doing.
For Russian firepower. Here in Dnipro, in the eastern part of the country, people are watching the growing levels of violence with great fear that are being used against the civilian population in other cities. Now, in this place, they are fortifying their defenses. But as another day ends, residents worry that it's only a matter of time before they too come under attack. The sirens are sounding more often. It means a heart-pounding trip to the air raid shelter and a nervous wait for the danger to pass.
Наступає вечір, і мені стає страшно. От я не знаю, що буде утром, як я проснусь, ще не проснусь. В общем-то, ми за мир во всьому мирі, і ми не хочемо, щоб з якої-то із країн таке сталося.
No one knows how this war will end, but as days turn into weeks,
Jeez.
there's a feeling that this may become even more savage. There may not be any respite from Russian aggression, but Ukraine says it will continue to resist, even in the face of great adversity. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Eastern Ukraine.
Well, the mayor of Kherson in Ukraine has suggested on social media that Russians have taken the city. One local resident told us he believed Russians were in control and the situation was very dangerous.
I think Ukraine has no control over the city. This is 100% under Russian control. I'm very sure about that. There have been reports over the social media that people
How do you not know for sure?
trying to leave. And on top of that, leaving the city, I mean, they control the entry and exit points. Then no one is willing to drive us to the, the nearest border will take us maybe 18 to 24 hours.
Well, Chelsea won their FA Cup game last night, but it may be soon losing.
All right, let's see what else going on.
No, I'm very. I don't know whether there will be a country to return to because, unfortunately, from what Putin is doing right now, even though nobody wants to provoke him, he is literally going to turn Kiev in the second Aleppo. He wants to erase it from the map. He wants to shell it to ashes. So I'm just hoping that the international community steps in before there are hundreds of thousands of deaths. We already have thousands of civilians dead, children dead. And I just hope that there is a response because from what I see right now, there are hundreds of thousands of people on the streets in every country. I've seen Germany saying no to sanctions, and then we had 100,000 people in Berlin, and they changed their mind. And from what I see now, the politicians are not ready to take actions, but people demand that because people understand this is unfair. When 90 countries, and this is the coalition that united to support Ukraine right now, 90 countries, mainly like the biggest countries in the world and the most powerful, cannot protect one single country that they promised from a crazy lunatic because he keeps bullying everybody that he has a red button. If the world doesn't respond, it means that tyranny wins in the 21st century and democracy loses. And I don't see how any other country would ever give up nuclear weapons or sign any international treaty.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
There is no protection and the collective defense does not work.
That should be a lesson. Don't give up your nuclear arms, ever.
For us tonight here on Top Story. We thank you for your time. Also here in Ukraine, there are many people unable to escape from their besieged towns and cities. For those left in this country, life has turned into a battle just to survive amid the Russian onslaught. NBC's Aaron McLaughlin has that story.
With Ukraine devastated by war, across the country, an all-out effort to stay alive.
No, Belarusian president he's just ready to start active war against western part of Ukraine. Of course, here in my city, we just had rocket bombing of our airport, and right now this is a terrible situation when small children, when old people, 5-6 times per day have to leave their homes and try and find some bomb shelters around the city, around the streets. So the situation is very tense.
How concerned are you that the military from Russia will come for your city next?
So we are not, as I mentioned, we are not very far from Belarus border. So this is just 1 hour. So we're just afraid that they will just break our border and will move to our direction, to our side. But I have to say that we are ready. We're ready to protect our families. We are ready to protect our city, and we will fight. And we are going to win this war. And as we say here in Ukraine, this is the start of his end. I mean about Putin and Russia.
And you have said when it comes to fighting that any resident who wants to fight in your city can get a weapon. How many residents do you believe will stay behind and fight? And how many do you have left?
Of course, we have some military presence in our city, but this is a secret information I can tell you. But I can tell you that every man in my city, he is ready to take a gun and protect their own homes. Thousands and thousands of people will protect our city.
And including you, Mayor, you yourself are willing to take up arms and fight.
Of course, we have a lot of people who are just asking me when we will go to border, when we will start to protect our region, when we will protect our city.
And you're in your 30s. Ukraine has been a democracy for virtually every moment of your life. What is it like to see all of that at stake right now, all of that on the line?
Yeah, we have a very strong nation. We have a lot of people who already put their lives as a sacrifice for our Ukrainian independence. So we are ready for everything.
And do you take inspiration from President Zelenskyy staying in Kyiv and the leadership that he's showing during this war?
I'm sure.
Yes, of course, we believe that President Zelenskyy, he's still in Kyiv, and everything under his control.
If you could get a message tonight to the people of Russia about what's happening in your country, what would you say?
Stop.
Yes, I just would love to.
What else do you say?
Ask Russian mothers of Russian soldiers, please call your sons and try to send them back, and while they still alive, because maybe tomorrow
oh my God,
you will not hear their voice. So please try to stop this aggression, because we're going to win.
You crazy as hell. What makes you so confident? You know, people have called this, David versus Goliath, right? And everybody knows that David won in the end, right? But what gives you your hope that you'll be victorious?
Who is this David?
The same. Ukraine is a Christian country. We believe that God with us. If you have a truth, you don't have to protect the truth, because truth can protect itself. And Russians, they come and invaded our territory. So every family, every street, every man, every woman will fight. This is not a very easy war for Putin. He already lost a lot of tanks, aircrafts. He lost a lot of ships. He lost a lot of people in this war, and this is not. This is his end. I believe that we will win.
And lastly, Mayor, I know you said a little while ago that you spoke with President Zelenskyy. What did he say? What did you say to him, if you can share?
Yes, of course. We just were discussing about situation all over the Ukraine, on different sides of Ukraine. And of course, President Zelenskyy just encouraged us, and we encourage each other to keep fighting and just to protect our capital city and to protect our own cities. Of course, as a city, as a nation, we are very strong right now. You just have to see how this war unites us. I'm just so amazed by people of my city. They are just trying help for militaries. They are trying help for territorial defense. They are trying to help me. They are trying to send a lot of the humanitarian aid to the east of Ukraine. So we are a strong country. We are building a new step, a new history of our country.
Mayor Alexander Tretyak, we thank you so much for your time.
All right, it's a little interview with one of the mayors. Now let's go into some of the older clips from today. Hope you guys are doing great. But this is from earlier today with freaking Blinken. And don't blink too fast because you might miss him.
With regard to President Putin's statements on Russia's nuclear posture. First, as you know, Russia and the United States have long agreed that the actual use of nuclear weapons would be devastating and have devastating consequences for the entire world. And as we've stated many times, including earlier this year, following the meeting between President Biden and President Putin in Geneva, both of our countries have stated that a nuclear war cannot be won, and must never be fought. That was a key reaffirmation coming out of the meeting between President Biden and President Putin back in June. Provocative rhetoric about nuclear weapons is the height of irresponsibility. It's dangerous. It adds to the risk of miscalculation. It needs to be avoided. We've assessed President Putin's directive and his statements, and at this time we see no reason to change our own alert levels.
All right. It's blinking.
As President Biden made clear last night, this is President Putin's war. This isn't the Russian people's war. It's becoming clearer by the day that the Russian people oppose it. Members of the Russian military oppose it and had no idea what they were being sent to do. And now the Russian people will suffer the consequences of their leaders' choices. So, my message to the people of Russia, if they're even able to hear it, as the Kremlin cracks down even harder on media outlets reporting the truth, my message is that we know many of you want no part of this war. You, like Ukrainians, like Americans, like people everywhere, want the same basic things. Good jobs, clean air and water, the chance to raise your kids in safe neighborhoods.
Okay, boring. Let's see, what is this clip from today? Okay. Here we go. Here's a fun one.
You know, I was at the State Department. The president was the vice president the last time Russia invaded Ukraine. This is a pattern of horror from from President Putin and from the cronies around him.
That's it. It's Jen Psaki's fault. Okay.
Who's that, Marjorie or Lauren?
This is Lauren.
Oh, Lauren Boebert.
Now, you know,
This
don't
is
talk about the
Lauren.
military unless you really want to talk about the military.
Oh, I'm talking about the military.
You know, you can't do what they do. That's why we revere them, because they do the stuff we can't do. And the minute you poop on them, you poop
no
on
thanks.
them like the last guy did.
Oh, we
Talking
pooping.
about those Gold Star families.
Oh, we
talking
pooping.
about Mr. McCain as not being a hero. Who the hell do you think you are, little girl? Who do you think you are? You know, you don't have to like this president to be respectful of him talking about the military and his son who died. You don't have to like him, but you must be respectful. You gotta be. That's right. We'll be.
I love nothing more than fabricated emotions. Yeah, I'm sure she's friggin' so livid. Okay, here we go.
People of Ukraine.
And last night you said you support Roe v. Wade as a Catholic. Why do you support abortion as a Catholic? Divine church teaching.
I tell you what, I don't want to get in a debate with you on theology, but you know, well, anyway, I'm not going to make a judgment for other people.
Why divide church is intentionally targeting?
Okay. All right, it's better now. All right. What's this? All right. Are you guys ready for some empathy?
Let's talk about high priorities when it comes to inflation. The new CBS poll found 70% of Americans disapprove of the administration's handling of inflation.
No.
What do you say to those people who say gas prices are just too high, I can't get peanuts?
Yeah, these people. Who are these people that say gas prices are just too high? Oh, people like you and me.
Peanut butter, everything costs more. What are you going to do? Listen, people.
Did you just say peanut butter?
People are struggling, especially working people, in terms of the price of gas and food, and the reasons include what we need to do to address what happened through the pandemic in terms of supply chain issues, which was a reduction of the availability of goods, and so the prices went up. We also need to deal with one of the biggest issues, which is the cost of living. It's too expensive for working families.
So, okay. Sold. I never heard Ted Cruz breaking down this speech.
Here with reaction, we have Texas Senator Ted Cruz is with us. Ted, I saw you. You're kind of looking around a little bit. You looked a little bored to me, but it seems like if I were to sum this up, ignore all the failure, give out a lot of bumper stickers, slogans, platitudes, and not address what's actually happening in the world, more specifically, the one sanction that would work as it relates to Russia and Ukraine, and that, of course, would be stopping the importation and exportation of any energy by Vladimir Putin.
Sean, I think that's exactly right. You know, tonight was the 10th State of the
No, he will never do that. Biden will never do that because then he'll admit he's a failure for doing it otherwise.
The Union that I've been on the floor of the House of Representatives to hear from the third different president. And this was the most out-of-the-touch State of the Union speech that I have ever heard. Biden went through a litany of acknowledging some of the problems we face in this country, but utterly denying any responsibility, any culpability for it. So he acknowledged galloping inflation, but didn't say a word about the trillions in spending and trillions of debt he rammed through that caused that inflation. He acknowledged gas prices are skyrocketing, but didn't say a word about the war on domestic energy production that his administration led. He acknowledged the need to secure our southern border, but didn't say a word about
that was
the
comical when he
failure
said
of his
that.
Administration to enforce the laws, leading to the highest rate of illegal immigration in 61 years. On Ukraine, he acknowledged Russia's invasion, but didn't say a word about the disastrous weakness from his administration, the catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan, or his decision to waive sanctions on Russia on Putin's Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is what directly led to this invasion. On every issue, he was like Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. I see nothing, I hear nothing. With him, that may be right, but he denied any and all culpability. And I'll tell you 4 words that I didn't hear at all tonight. I didn't hear crime. He didn't acknowledge the crime rate that is soaring across this country, the murder rate that is soaring across this country because of the Democrats' push to abolish the police. He didn't say the word China even once. It was stunning that China is the greatest geopolitical threat facing the United States, and somehow it didn't make it into the speech. He didn't say Afghanistan. He didn't even
talked about China,
acknowledge the disgraceful
but
surrender
he didn't say how bad they were.
he led. And he didn't say Israel. That was really striking in a State of the Union. I think it was really a disappointing speech.
He didn't say Israel? What? You must say Israel in all speeches. What? Okay. Russia and Ukraine war. United Nations approves resolution condemning Putin. This is 4 minutes ago. Protecting Zelenskyy is a priority number 1 for the entire Western world. Okay. Multiple explosions. What's this? Oh, Kharkiv. I think we already saw these. Let's keep going on to some more clips that I have. Okay. You know, it wasn't just that long ago that people weren't allowed to protest in Canada because, well, you didn't fit in with the narrative or what the elitists and the people in power say it's okay to protest about. But here's Canada right now protesting.
Слава
That sounds a little bit louder than honking. All right, so that's in Canada right now. Oh, and then this. It was literally just yesterday that Joe Biden was walking from his helicopter to the White House in a mask by himself. And then last night we watched our entire political ruling elite class hugging and kissing and head nodding. Here we go, a little head nod. Kiss. Little head kiss. Let's see that again. One more. Little head kiss. Little head kiss. One more time. Little head kiss. Little head kiss. But then Nancy Pelosi has the gall to come on, you know, the beloved MSNBC and say this.
To quickly ask you about that, because the CDC mask guidance, of course, changed last week today. DC officially lifted its indoor mask guidance. Are you going to be wearing a mask?
No coincidence whatsoever.
Mask tonight?
No, I'm not going to be wearing a mask tonight. If I had little children or if I were around little grandchildren, I would. Because
What? What does little children have to do with it?
Crazy as hell.
Exactly. You mean the people that have the best immune system? Yeah. Good idea, Nancy Pelosi.
some of them would not be vaccinated, or if I were around a person or were a person with some kind of a condition that would make me susceptible to it. So I think people have to use their judgment about it. But I do think that if people make their own judgment, I make my own judgment that I won't be wearing a mask tonight.
And then now we're going to pretend like none of this ever happened and people weren't shamed into this. And as we watched again, we watched them all, you know, sitting a seat apart from each other for social distancing. And then right after it was over, a little head nod. Love that. There's our president, our leader. COVID's over. He beat COVID single-handedly. Thanks to Russia for invading Ukraine. COVID is officially over. We can finally party. It's like the silliest world we live in. Okay. And then we got this. All right. So some people are starting to wake up about gas prices. And it was just not too long ago we were energy independent. And people were wondering, why do we have to rely on Russia for oil and gas? Like, why do we have to rely on OPEC? Why do we have to, like, these cartels, these thugs that can just change, you know, bump up prices more and more? You want us to produce more? No, thanks. We'll just charge you more. But why don't we just produce here? And Morning Joe even woke up this morning and decided to drink a little bit of pure lead.
Richard Haas, I'd say something that may be unpopular with some people that watch Morning Joe every morning.
Exactly. You mean you're going to say something that might be truthful?
Some people that watch Morning Joe every morning. But it seems to me our dependence on Russian oil continues despite the fact we're the largest producer in the world, despite the fact that we actually are not getting the energy out of the ground, all the energy out of the ground that we can get temporarily. Because of this war. Wouldn't it strategically make a lot of sense for the United States to ramp up oil production so they can cut off the dependence on Russian oil?
Wow. Mr. Obvious came out to play today.
We have the ability in this country to produce enough oil for this country and energy for this country that we can depend a hell of a lot less on Russia. Can we not at least do this temporarily in the cause of freedom? And if
it's incredible you say that, Morning Joe. It's like, it's not like we can produce a much cleaner energy source than Russia is because we have higher standards and stuff like that, or like anywhere. We always rely on everyone else to do the dirty work. We're going to buy your solar panels, but you have to dig the rare earth minerals for those babies.
If Democrats want to go back to current positions later, they can do that. But why not? If we have the ability to not be dependent on Russian oil, why wouldn't we take that step right now in a time of war?
I'll I'll finish that statement because we have a huge agenda for green energy. As we go into this right here, Senator James Lankford came out and said this today in congruence to what we just listened to.
Once again, I want to be able to call out for folks to be able to pray for the people of Ukraine. Many of us have been engaged and been in conversation with individuals that we know in Ukraine. Just a few years ago, the Oklahoma 45th Infantry spent a full year in Ukraine training the Ukrainian military on how to be able to fight the Russians. That training is now being put into place. The equipment, the weapons, the anti-tank, the anti-aircraft munitions that the United States has provided to them, they continue to be able to ask for more and more from Ukraine because they are sitting ducks. And they're fighting in the streets today while we sit in the safety of this room. This is a very different day for the people in Ukraine. And we should not fail to be able to pray for them and to look for every opportunity we can to be able to support them. I'm amazed at patriotic Americans all over the country that are displaying the blue and yellow flag of Ukraine, that are wearing it on their lapel, that are putting it out, that are posting it on their Facebook and social media sites. I'm amazed that when I see all the stories that are out there of liquor stores that are pouring out their Russian vodka and putting up a sign to say, we no longer sell Russian vodka. At the same moment, I would really like to see President Biden put out a sign that says, America no longer buys Russian oil.
Imagine.
But he's yet to be able to put that sign up. So currently, our liquor store operators are doing something the United States is apparently not willing to do through our president. We need to stop buying Russian oil and refined products. We need to be able to...
You mean pouring out my liquor isn't enough? I have to actually maybe drill...
instruct every country in the world and to be able to put out a public list to be able to make it clear countries in the world that are buying from Russia are sending cash that then is being used to murder the people in Ukraine. We need to knock it off. And we should be able to engage in this. Now, what happens now?
Seems like one of the easiest wins that Democrats can all come together and be a part of, but yet they refuse to, and also act like this isn't even a possibility that we could do.
The Biden administration has to be able to make a decision. Currently, they're dominated by an environmentalist perspective that somehow Saudi Arabia and Russia are producing energy cleaner than the United States, and they're so consumed with the green footprint of the United States that they're ignoring even their own numbers. If you look at the Biden administration...
Imagine that. So we make other people produce it for us, then it's shipped over to us, and somehow that is better?
Numbers, and you look at their numbers and say, what will the worldwide oil and gas usage be in 2050? They continue to show increasing numbers. But at the same time, they're trying to decrease production in the United States by new requirements on FERC, on pipelines, new requirements on export for natural gas, continue to be able to limit access to capital through the Federal Reserve, through the nominees that are in place. They're continuing to find ways to produce less in America, even though their own numbers show there will be a greater need in 2050 than what there is now. What they're really saying is, we don't want to produce that in America. We want Russia and OPEC to be able to produce it, even though it needs to be done and will be done. In a committee hearing yesterday here in the United States Senate, one of my Democrat colleagues said, what we need to do is to tell the people in Europe that we will produce heat pumps for you, and then we need to start producing more heat pumps here in America. Well, I'm sure that really is very comforting to the people of Europe that in the next 15 to 20 years we'll produce enough heat pumps to ship to you while you're cut off from oil and have no access to natural gas to heat your homes. I'm sure it's incredibly comforting to the people of Ukraine who are in day 6 fighting for their lives that in the next 15 to 20 years we'll produce some heat pumps and send them over to Europe.
Bathed.
This is not a rational response right now from the United States government. We need to be clear that we're standing with the people of Ukraine, we're providing humanitarian aid to them, we're providing military aid to them, and we're doing what it takes to cut off the flow of money to the Russians who are murdering their neighbors.
This isn't on the table because it will never be on the table. They see this as the biggest L in the world if we start becoming energy independent again. Biden will have to admit that maybe shutting down a pipeline wasn't the best idea day one. And we're getting exactly what we thought with Joe Biden, as his wife came out and said some things today. Let's watch and see what's going on with the news.
To Ukraine, she says that American military hardware has already been brought to bear here in Ukraine. So some of the losses that the Russians are now acknowledging are coming by the Ukrainian Defense Force with the assistance of some American military hardware.
Well, let me follow up on that, because Russia is saying now, according to this statement, 500 of its troops have been killed. This is the first time Russia has even given a number, Aaron, right, of its military casualties. And then Ukraine is saying many more Russian soldiers have been killed. Now, ABC hasn't been able to confirm independently these reports of casualties. So maybe you can add some context here. And also, you know, why do you think Russia is releasing these figures now?
This is the first time in 7 days of fighting the Russians have actually put a number on the number of on the troops that they have lost, about 500. It's far fewer than the Ukrainians say. The Ukrainians believe they've killed maybe 5,000 or more Russian troops since this began. It's an impossible number to independently confirm. 5,000, 6,000 would eclipse 20 years of American losses in Afghanistan. But even if the number is somewhere in there, it does show you the ferocity of the fighting and how formidable the Ukrainian defenses have been. The Russians are probably keen to bury any bad news for domestic consumption. Undoubtedly, the number is probably higher than they're acknowledging. But it comes as the Russians and the Ukrainians are about to sit down on the Polish-Belarus border for a second round of talks aimed at a ceasefire. And it's a significant location, Kira, where these talks.
This is breaking. The Russian Ministry of Enlightenment announced that it will stream all Russian open lesson on why liberation mission in Ukraine is a necessity on March 3rd. Tomorrow, the lesson will discuss why NATO poses a threat to Russia and why Russia was stood up to defend the peaceful residents of Donetsk and Luhansk as the People's Republic. Interesting.
Are you getting a sense of the emotional toll that this is just taking on the refugees now? And what's next for them? You've been spending a lot of time and getting to know many of them very well.
Kira, I think the frightening thing is the answer to both of those questions just not known right now and might not be for quite some time. Aaron is talking about those talks on the Polish-Belarus border. We were just there 2 days ago at a shelter that has been set up for some of these refugees. Take the first question. What kind of toll is this taking on the refugees? My goodness, it's trauma. I mean, you see them coming. It takes days to get across the border. And once they get here, they're either staying with family and friends, or they just have nobody and nowhere to go, and the Polish people are putting them up in shelters. So it is a trauma, and I don't know, you know, some of the refugees we're talking to are just flat out crying. Others have this blank stare on their face. So, you know, everybody's different. Some people have processed this by the time they get here, or they're in the process of processing it. Others are just in a state of shock because they've had to leave everything they know in their home, come over here, women and children, and not know if their dad or their husband is even going to survive the battle. What happens next? Kira, that's unknown as well. They don't know how long they're going to have to be here. They do know they're going to have to settle in for quite some time, though.
And efforts also, Phil, underway helping soldiers as well?
Yeah, we saw that today, Kira. We actually drove past what in American terms would be like an Army-Navy store. But this one was much more than that. We went in and spoke to the owner, who is Ukrainian, like so many who live here in Lublin and in Poland. And he was exhausted, said he's sleeping a couple of hours a day. What he is doing is spending thousands of dollars of his own money, and along with his friends here.
Mr. Freerod, yeah, here's a gun, go fight the Russians. Yeah, here's a gun, go fight the Russians like we have been planning for 30 years. I know.
He is going across the border and coming back. And we've told you how long it takes to get back. He is just exhausted, but he said, I'm fighting.
Hey, here's your gun. Have fun.
What I can from Lublin, Poland. I am fighting from here. And he's getting everything from, you know, supplies, blankets. We saw knives. I don't know what else is going, but he did say.
How you doing, Mr. Freeride? Would you... Mr. Freeride, I love that username, by the way. Would you go fight?
Wow, Phil.
Refugees.
Human trait, being fascinated by.
Let's see what's going on with Sky
The
News.
Mirror has got a picture of
father with a very, very young baby in a bomb shelter. The Eye have done something similar. They have a mother holding one. And this is just awful, particularly when you've got young kids or you're giving birth to babies. It should be a really happy, joyous occasion. You should be you're taking great, emotional support from the child, giving it to the child. And these parents must be worried witless about their children.
No, I know. Good luck.
It breaks your heart when you see.
Like I've seen some pictures of like some of these Ukrainian soldiers too, where they're just they'll have like a shotgun in your hand. You're like, how close are you getting to some of these people?
You hardened him into somebody who is only concerned about Putin and his crackpot ideas and his ideology and his intention to rebuild a Russian empire. But those pictures of those kids and you just now worry what will happen to happen because they're caught in a war zone. Yeah. And they're in areas that are being shelled. And of course shelling is just it's indiscriminate to a large degree. You can't in an urban area.
You're using cluster munitions. Just briefly, Andrew, we've got 30 seconds. What do you think of Abramovich saying he's going to sell Chelsea? It's on the front of the Sun.
Well, I don't know why they ever let him buy the flipping club in the first place. Blair was in number 10 at the time.
I love English, and they're like, why you buy the flipping club at it anyways?
Chelsea paid the $1.5 billion he owes, but it would have been quite nice if Abramovich, who said the proceeds will go to help Ukraine, but he hasn't condemned Putin.
Okay. All right. Somebody just sent me this. Tucker Carlson. I haven't seen this update or watched this show. I think it's open.
Joe Biden has nominated a radical called Gigi Sohn to the Federal Communications Commission. Now, radical is one of those terms that thrown around like a slur. It's essentially meaningless most of the time. So what do we mean when we call Gigi Sohn radical? Well, she's for government censorship of media. That's unconstitutional and is legitimately radical. So she may be a nice person, can't be on the FCC. Will she be, is the question. Charlie Gasparino is a senior correspondent with Fox Business, one of the most connected people in the media business. He's got some reporting on this.
I think we got to get something. I think we got to get something straight, Tucker. She's for censorship on us. not CNN, not MSNBC. If you hold her accountable.
Why you laughing? They're so trustworthy.
Doesn't like us a lot.
Right.
Here's the thing, Tucker. I find her interesting and fascinating and spirited, and she's smart.
Yes.
The real question is she qualified in a sort of objective sense for a job where you have to be a regulator, and that's on the FCC. And I think if you start adding up all the things she says about, all the sort of positions she's taken very, very vehemently about, how Fox is the worst thing since, sliced bread, or the worst thing since Putin. Yeah. She's really, I was going to say Wonder Bread, because no one eats Wonder Bread anymore. But,
I wish some of these commentators would stop trying to make jokes half the time, because I'm like, you're not funny, so stop. Just say what you need to say, bro.
Got to look at her positions, how radical she is on issues like net neutrality, which essentially will turn the cable industry into a utility. Go down the line. She's far to the left. And here's the one thing that's really funny about her. I've never met or heard of, and I've covered this a long time, an FCC commissioner that was opposed by the Fraternal Order of Police. They oppose her. Now, why do they oppose her? Well, it's not because of net neutrality, because during our wonderful Summer of Love in 2020, all those largely peaceful protests where, cops were being targeted and, buildings were burning down, but no one cared, she would retweet and like tweets from AOC and these far lefties that were saying we should defund the police, how bad the police were. So the Fraternal Order Police want to block this. Now, my guess what's going to happen tomorrow is that the Republicans on the Commerce Committee wimp out. Now, what do I mean by wimp out? There was some talk today that they
because they're wimps,
follow the lead of Pat Toomey in the Banking Committee and not boycott a vote tomorrow. So the Dems and the committee can't get a quorum and can't push her to the floor. Boycott the vote, like Toomey did with Sarah Raskin and some of the lefties that Biden wants to put on the Federal Reserve. From what I'm hearing now, Ted Cruz, The other members, ranking members of the Commerce Committee, they plan to vote on her tomorrow. As of now, I don't know why they're turning around and doing this. Because if they really believe, like I said, I'll debate Gigi Sohn all day. It's fun. It's great.
Yeah.
But if they really believe she's a threat to democracy, why the hell are they voting on her tomorrow?
Well, that's exactly right.
I don't know. I don't know what's going. They're not returning my calls on this.
Because they don't care. They're all talk.
After dark. I don't know a woman who.
Let's see what else going. I'm trying to find. Okay, fine. Perfect.
Of resistance here are immense. It seems that anyone who is able to pick up a gun or fill up a sandbag is coming forwards in defiance of the Russian invasion.
David has enrolled and is making Molotov cocktails to defend his city.
Это не только военные делают. Каждый гражданин сейчас делает коктейли Молотова, собирает припасы, покупает оружие. И вот тут будет встречать, если он хочет, чтобы сюда пришел русский мир.
I love they kind of call it a cocktail. I know it's like literally a cocktail, but it makes you feel like, hey, make one for the tank and one for me.
This brutal war descends further. It will be the innocent who bear the brunt of Russia's aggression. There will be many more frightening nights underground. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Dnipro.
When we come back, as the snow continues to fall here in Lviv, the dangerous journey for those who decide to flee Ukraine. The 24-year-old who thought she escaped a nightmare but soon realized it had just begun. Her incredible story of bravery and her message to the world tonight.
Man.
Though in the short term, the problem is oil prices are really high right now. We saw them go up again today. So that means that these profits could still be higher for those companies and the companies in Russia, too, Lindsay.
And what's the thinking?
The whole Russian oil thing and these politicians, these corporate media talking about all the profits OPEC is doing and they're raising up profits. Of course. Why wouldn't you want profit? You're creating no competition. Instead of us going and drilling and making there a competition, and not only that, providing a cleaner energy source, and you don't have to ship that oil and gas. You don't have to do anything. It's produced right here. So instead, of course, as always, these politicians, they don't want to actually talk about the facts or have a discussion. They just want to say it's the OPEC people, it's Russia, it's their fault we're paying so much at the pump. It has nothing to do with our politicians. I just get so bored of this argument, and I hope you do too.
Painful images of mothers and their children fleeing Ukraine, but now we're starting to see the other side of their journey right here in the United States as they try to come to terms with the past week. Josh Chapin with our partners at WTVD has our emotional.
It's like if you're the only TV producer, you can charge whatever you want for those TVs, you know? It's just so silly.
Running down before they fully cleared security to greet them after their expedition from Ukraine to Raleigh.
On Wednesday, it was normal life for us, and on Thursday, everything changed. And it was so scary because I have two small children.
Helena met by her two sisters and others with balloons and flowers at RDU International Airport.
Yes, I am lucky, but there are so many people in Ukraine, women especially with children, who are not so lucky.
These three and two other family members started in Kyiv. Helena's husband, who cannot leave the country, drove them to Lviv, and from there they walked for hours before being picked up by Polish friends.
From Warsaw to München, from München to Washington, and from Washington here, and now I'm safe and my children safe, so I'm very thankful.
Still, the husbands are there, our brothers are there, our children are there. You know, they are fighting for our freedom. You know, Ukrainian is the most peaceful nation in the world.
Uliana is her sister.
My mom is still there, and she said that, Uliana, when sun comes down, I'm so scared. Our capital is destroyed.
These folks were able to get out of harm's way because of the generosity.
Justin, what up? Dude, your State of the Union address had me rolling. Also, I love the retro gaming pre-show. Justin, I appreciate you, brother. Good, man. I hope I provided some kind of laughing, especially in these times. It's just like, first of all, State of the Union is such a joke. It's like It's like a king walking out. Welcome, our great and powerful leader, as he makes an exit for the door because he has poopy. It's just so silly. And if there's no fun news, NBA Jam might make a showing tonight. Not sure. Joe did not disappoint. I know. It was just such a silly thing. Do you watch any of Tony Heller video? He talks a lot on climate change. No, I have not. Tony Heller. Is it good?
That appears to be stalled. And the disturbing, deadly police shooting of a 12-year-old in Philly. Police claim he opened fire.
Tony Heller. Is it on YouTube? Tony Heller.
Feels like a fate worse than death.
What's it like to see your friends die?
What?
You know.
Did you just hear that freaking question? What is it like to see your friends die? Oh my God.
Not seeing it dying for you, than me.
What a psychotic question.
You know?
You wish it had been you.
Oh my God.
Particular moment, yes.
Maria's escape from Kharkiv, a harrowing but vital journey. Her train stopping in Kyiv, the violence all around her. The experience leaving her forever changed.
Mentally, how did you survive?
I don't think I did. We all are just super, mentally we are broken, and to be honest, I do have PTSD. I do. Very bad kind of. Every time I hear sound or anything, I start shaking. And my friends, they bring some medical stuff to get me back to normal, condition.
Katerina hasn't eaten or slept properly for 6 days, but somehow her message to anyone who is listening is crystal clear.
Please do cherish a clear sky. Every time you see sky, cherish every moment of your life.
A powerful moment right there and a powerful interview. Cal joins us now here from our top story balcony studio in Lviv.
Just playing
Cal,
on that girl's
when
emotions.
You met Katerina, did you get a sense of how she was doing and if she was going to get to where she wanted to go?
So she's staying in Lviv tonight with friends. She doesn't know what to do next, whether she's going to make it.
His speech is so lazy. Him and Pelosi just sound like they are both have Alzheimer's. Oh my God. I know. I could believe some of the things Joe Biden said, like that he's for protecting the borders. I know the whole fund the police thing, that's an argument we could have with the squad versus other Democrats, but the border thing, that really triggered me.
Polish border, but as you know, that backup runs for miles and miles. And while it's beautiful out, hundreds of thousands of people sleeping outside in the snow and the rain is a continuing concern.
It's so cold, and during the day it's even colder. I did want to ask you, though, you flagged this interview to us earlier today, and it was kind of this moment where you told me you thought she was almost shell-shocked, PTSD.
The poor Iranians.
You get that from the interview. And it's almost a turning point in our coverage.
Oh, yeah,
here
you just reminded me.
I'm seeing this as well from people that we're talking to at the train stations, families in shelters, especially the people coming out of Kharkiv. Their entire city is gone.
I think part of it is it takes them time to get here, right to where we are in the West. But the other part of it, it seems like the Russian are changing their tactics, right? It seems like they're starting to indiscriminately shell some of the civilian areas, and that is a concern.
Thank you for reminding me.
I think this flow of human traffic headed west as that gets worse.
Iranians.
Something Vladimir Putin said he was not going to do, attack cities and civilians, and clearly that's not the case here. Right. Cal, an incredible interview. I know that was very, very tough to conduct. Thanks for joining Top Story tonight. We thank you for watching this special edition of Top Story.
I know everyone was like fighting whether he said Iranians or Uranians. Will Worth It, he talks a lot about climate change fraud. Oh, love it. I looked him up just now, and it looked like he just said he's leaving YouTube. But I'll check out his stuff.
Ukrainian officials saying more than 2,000 civilians have been killed. New images, the police headquarters in Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, in flames after a missile attack. The Russian military accused of deliberately targeting civilians, a key port city on the brink of falling. The refugee crisis deepening, nearly 900,000 fleeing Ukraine. The UN today overwhelmingly condemning Russia after President
Biden's like he's like such a easy person to make fun of, and yet SNL's like, I don't see anything funny to laugh. Oh, he's on Rumble. I'm on Rumble right now live. It's really more of a backup for me, just because like their chat doesn't really sync, and there's not enough buy-in. I wish there was more buy-in in some of these sites. Like we have. What do you guys think about like Getter, Gab, Parler? I can't tell. Like True Social obviously has been a terrible rollout, but these other ones, I just feel like everyone just uses them as backups, and they just repost of what they're posting on Twitter.
If you own one, and the Ukrainian crisis sending gas prices soaring, how high could they go?
This is NBC Nightly News with Les.
I swear, if I see one more bad argument about gas prices, I'm going to lose my mind.
The world is watching tonight as Russia, in plain sight, targets city after city. Its forces appearing to double down, closing in on Kiev.
Dude, yeah, me too. I feel horrible for the Ukrainian people, too. It's always like everyone gets so wrapped up in the politics of war, and they forget that, they're just normal people trying to live a normal life and and their whole lives are uprooted. I just saw just a second ago the UN reporting over 1 million refugees have left Ukraine. 1 million people. I mean, just think about that. A freaking million of people without a home. They're probably not with all their stuff that they look after. I mean, I'm sure they left, valuable stuff at home, like pictures and stuff that you can't replicate. And they just got up and left, and they don't know if they will ever be able to go back home. And also that they don't know if they'll ever see their sons ever again or their fathers ever again. It's just like it's just so devastating. And you always have to remember the humanistic side of war and what it does. It's not just a video game or something you see on the news, But I'm crazy.
Physical health. This is an
Jews around the world to come to the nation's defense. Zelenskyy tweeting, "What is the point of saying never again if the world stays silent when a bomb drops on the same site of Babin Yar?" Tonight, a senior U.S. defense official says while Russia has increased missile and artillery attacks on the capital, a convoy heading toward the city is still stalled. But that Russian forces advancing from the south are making progress. The Kremlin insists tough sanctions imposed by President Biden and the West, isolating its banks and oligarchs, though allowing Russia to keep selling its oil and gas will not deter Russia's so-called special military action. But every day, more brave Ukrainians, many without weapons, are standing up to Russian occupiers. This crowd confronting Russian troops in Berdyansk and south of Kiev, stopping a convoy of Russian vehicles. A Russian soldier showing restraint fires into the air. He seems not to know how to respond. Russian troops were told they'd be greeted as liberators, freeing Ukraine from a hated radical government. But that's not the response they're seeing now.
Both Ukraine and Russia have agreed to a second attempt at peace talks. But here in Kiev, they're not optimistic about a ceasefire. The mayor telling residents to stock up.
You peacefully shut your mouth.
Lester.
All right, Richard Engel, thank you. As Russia's assault intensifies, the desperate exodus from Ukraine grows. Tonight, the UN Refugee Agency says almost 900,000 people have fled the country, many more trying to get out. Tom Yamas is in western Ukraine for us.
Tonight, that long journey out of Ukraine becoming torturous. Refugees standing, waiting, telling us the Russians have left them shell-shocked.
My whole city is just dust.
Katerina Belash told our Cal Perry how she fled Kharkiv. That bombs killed.
All right, we already heard her talk. Let's hear what
Journeys
ABC has.
hiding underground in the basement, like little Yarek, who has fluid on his brain. And Ilya, whose dad cares for her, while his wife and other kids are hiding near the front lines.
It must be harder down here.
Valentin says, of course it's harder down here, but what can we do? We won't give up, though. We'll fight to the last. And it's not just the sick, but the wounded here, too. 13-year-old Vova was badly injured when the family car came under attack. His father and cousin were killed, and he now fights for his life in intensive care. His mother agreed to let us film because so many here want the world to see what has become of their children.
My emotion, I believe in victory. I believe in maybe in future, tomorrow, maybe next week or next month. I see some in.
Let me know if you guys find any news that I can look up. I'm looking up stuff right now.
Ian Panel joins us now from Kyiv. And Ian, just was watching you do World News Tonight with David Muir, and we could hear a bombardment in the background. Just give us a status of what's happening right now.
Yeah, that's right. So I actually noticed there was a large flash over in the distance. It's an incredibly foggy night. You can only see probably about 50 to 100 yards. So, of course, the light, the atmosphere here disperses the light. Saw a flash. Normally, that's then going to be followed by some kind of impact. But, of course, the truth is, like all the residents here, you don't know where it's going to land. We then heard the sound of this large explosion. It's not clear what the target has been. The Russians keep saying they're targeting the military infrastructure. In fact, the Russian Defense Ministry announced yesterday that they would be targeting certain buildings, including the internal security building here in the capital, Kyiv. That's a few blocks away. It's possible that could have been targeted. But that's the second large blast that we've heard tonight. And the reality is, whatever our situation, that's what Ukrainians are having to live with. Those who can get out, have the will and the capacity to get out, have done so. But many others are now hunkered in their basements tonight, listening to that sound. And frankly, it's terrifying.
And my heart was just pounding seeing your live shot, and I can't imagine what it's like to actually be there and live there. There are also reports that Russian troops have occupied the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson as attacks on civilians ramp up. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. That certainly appears to be the case. That would be the largest city to have been taken. There were two smaller cities that appear to potentially have been taken by the Russians and held now. And I think this is important for viewers. We talked about the slow pace of the advance. We talked about the stout Ukrainian defense. But the truth is that the Russian advance may have been slowed. It hasn't been stopped. They are slowly advancing, moving on cities, putting more troops in, throwing more armament at Ukrainian cities. Some civilians are clearly being hit in these airstrikes that are taking place. And so, yes, it's slowed, but no, it isn't stopped. And we're seeing this here in Kyiv, in the capital. If you actually look at like an ink blot map, you can see this stain of Russian forces getting ever closer to the capital, Kyiv, and they're starting to swallow up some serious cities. And although the Ukrainians will stand and fight, they know they've got overwhelming force mustered against them.
All right, Ian Panel, our thanks to you as always, and please stay safe. Scores of people continue to have their lives upended by Putin's ongoing wrath in Ukraine. 1 million people are faced with some cruel choices. For women and children, they abandon what they know. For the men between 18 to 60 years old, they stay and fight not.
Okay. I just found some silly things. You guys ready? All right. I don't know if you guys caught Jill Biden today. Listen to this from Mr. Technical College herself.
We still have a long way to go. Our world faces incredible challenges. But
can we just also talk about that Biden is wearing a mask, and last night he wasn't wearing a mask at all. Then they were shaking hands with everybody, but he's outside standing socially distanced from his wife, and they're wearing a mask, and the other guys weren't. What's the? It's just so silly. It's just so, as Rand Paul says, isn't this just theatrics?
Things are so much better. Challenges, this incredible challenges, but things are so much better. You were right to put your faith in Joe Biden a year ago.
Imagine actually believing that things are so much better. It's almost comical. Is this SNL? Is this The Onion? What's going on? We're getting duped. God. Also this. Look at this. Okay, at this point, it's just getting over the top. You can't erase human beings from history, and just because their government has crazy actions doesn't mean the people in that country are crazy. Breaking, Oprah just announced that she will remove the novel Crime and Punishment from Russian author Dostoevsky from her acclaimed book club. RT to thank Oprah for standing up with Ukraine against the murderous Russian forces. This is easily one of the greatest authors ever. And you're getting rid of the books, as EA Sports has put out, you're no longer allowed to play with the Russian world team because we're making a huge stand against the people of Russia. I'm just so sick of the world. It's just so silly at this point, and I just I can't laugh at this stuff anymore because it's just so dumb. GDP growth in the U.S. is 0. Russia makes more of their oil export with the rise of oil production. The Guardian has an article about our meddling in Ukraine. Yeah, I read that. That was a great article. Carpenter wrote it, I think. Yeah, we're
Russian planes and
to act like it's like we're not messing around with Russia in any way, or Ukraine is completely a democracy is just silly to talk. It's just propaganda. It's more the people I care about, but
on Vladimir Putin and his inner circle.
And also, it's also another subject I'm like incredibly well read on.
Any Russian oligarch, wealthy businessman with,
and like many of you, where we're just kind of waking up more to this and seeing what's going on and getting more into it. I'm just glad not everyone is losing their minds
the EU
about what you're allowed to say and what not allowed to say right now.
Among them, the CEO of the state oil company Rosneft, another man known as Putin's wallet, and the insurance company
Putin's wallet,
partially owned by a close Putin ally.
Mr. Freeride, did you read that article? And if you did, what did you learn? What was the big takeaway for you in that article?
Make their lives, which are very comfortable, uncomfortable, by sanctioning them personally and by blocking access to those assets.
The wave of punishing financial measures and restrictions unrelenting, with the U.S. closing its airspace to Russian flights and aircraft and blocking oil and gas equipment to Russia. Boeing also suspending all parts, maintenance and technical support for Russian airlines.
Look up that article.
Tonight, Russia risking a financial meltdown. The ruble's value plunging to a record low, but recovering to 1 US cent. The stock market has been closed since the weekend. The Kremlin spokesman conceding that Russia's economy is under severe pressure, but saying the country has strength, potential and plans.
James Longman joins us now. And James, by going after these oligarchs who have close ties to Putin, could it have an impact on Putin's actions in Ukraine or even his hold on the country?
Well, it's very interesting that some of these oligarchs actually have themselves called for an end to the war. Now, what you have to understand about Putin's Russia, he kind of maintains power by kind of maintaining the loyalty from three groups: the political classes, the security apparatus, and the oligarchs. So this group is fundamental to Putin's regime. But it is interesting that some of them are now criticizing the war. Are they doing that with his blessing? Is he providing himself with a way out? Or do the West see this as a way to Putin? Could one of these men be a replacement for Putin himself? We have to think that might be a possibility, or certainly on the mind.
That'll never happen. They will have to kill Putin for him to give up power. That would never happen.
And for more on the war in Ukraine and the American response, we bring in Representative Joaquin Castro of Texas, a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Intelligence Committees.
Oh, my God. This guy's the worst.
Great to be with you.
So you've been a longtime supporter of targeted sanctions against Russia, even before this war. And in 2018, you introduced sanctions legislation after 3 people were poisoned on British soil. Right now, at this moment, how well do you think that the sanctions are working, with Russia showing no signs of retreat?
I think the Biden administration has marshaled our allies around the world and demonstrated American leadership. I think the
snore. God. Great take.
Paralympic row. The Russians are already in Beijing, and they're...
Oh, yeah, the Paralympics. Oh, yeah, this is the most triggering thing for a leftist.
Honestly, anything, and we got to stop with this COVID theater. So if you want to wear it, fine, but this is ridiculous.
How dare you dissent us?
Tonight, a nation exhausted, navigating an evolving pandemic.
People are so freaking out about that.
In 60 seconds, new sanctions targeting Russia's super-rich oligarchs. Could pressuring them be a game changer?
NBC News.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nations.
It's insane how many people are clapping all these governments taking over citizens' assets.
In them.
And thinking, that'll never happen to me.
Not going to go commit ground troops to fight against Russia. This country was in a war, the war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan for 20 years. And so that's not something that we're going to do. But we're trying to be helpful in every other possible way that we can.
And do you think that the U.S. is doing enough to help Ukrainians to...
We plan this conflict at the cost of common people. God, I know. Light at the first fire and cost of every... I know. That's literally it says. So you're against the seizures they are doing against Russia's. It's not. Not everything's black and white. I know a lot of people want to be black and white about it, but I just think you have to take note of governments being so willing to take over people that have nothing to do with Putin. I know some of these oligarchs are very heavily involved with Putin and stuff like that, but I mean, EA Sports got rid of the Russians, like I just said, and Oprah just decided to take out one of the greatest writers ever recorded in the history of man off her bookshelf because she's making some sort of stand. You can't just erase people. And Russian people are some of the greatest people, beautiful, beautiful people. And just because of a government's actions. I'm not in favor of government seizing people. It's just like during World War II, putting Japanese people in internment. I am not in favor of that. The more power like that is not something I think is a good thing. I don't think it leads to that kind of mentality where governments are just so quick to erase people or seize people's assets because they have a different opinion than them. I'm not a big fan of that. Nobody in Russia who is rich at that level can stay so without Putin's blessing. Yeah, I know, 100%. But as always, I don't think everything's black and white, and I don't trust half the things some of the media and some of our politicians say about some of these people. Pretty low chance any of the oligarchs are caught up in this innocently. Yeah, I agree. But it's also like the idea of seizing or erasing Russians or thinking or not allowing Russians to like travel or just like so much. And I understand the idea behind it, but I'm just never in power of any government, especially U.S. government, taking away people's freedoms like that because of the common good or the good for all mankind. It's just like what happened in Canada. You had all those people protesting for their medical freedoms, and they decided that nope, you don't get any of that money. We're taking all that money. It's a great mechanism of capitalism. I don't think that's capitalism. That is authoritarianism, my dude, where the government seizes your funds. That chaos can really shake the system from time to time. Yeah. I think that's crony capitalism. Anytime the government gets involved in taking over companies' rights, that's not capitalism, and it's purist, and we're not in a capitalist society. It can't be true. You can't bail out companies and stay in a capitalist society. It's just we're not capitalists. I wish we were, because I think, yeah, there's some harshness that comes with capitalism, but ultimately it's a better good for everyone, for the government to stay out of your hands. Canada doesn't have the rights the States does. I know they don't, but that's why I say it's not a good thing that people are trying to have rights. People are trying to have freedoms, and the government decided, you know what? We don't agree with what you believe in, so we're taking your means of production. We're taking your money. We're taking your car. We're taking your truck. We're taking your right to work at this place. We're putting you in jail because you are a different political party. If you want to look at some crazy stuff right now, you see what's going on live footage from New Zealand regarding the same kind of stuff. I'm just not in favor of a powerful state. I don't think it never works out well for the citizens, even those that believe that it's a better way to live. They end up, power corrupts power. The more you get a taste of power, the more you want power, the more you want to control the narrative, control the speech, control the people, and control their bodies, and then they can do whatever you want with you. And that's how the rich stay powerful forever. Russians is still acting like it's 1900s. We knew this and provoked the crazy Putin. It was just like a culmination of so much, and especially with like the pandemic, things are shut down, people's mental health, and people are feeling a little crazier than normal and feeling a little bit like I'm ready to release some energy. It's just like NATO doesn't give a crap, and they'll keep pushing people like Putin, and then Putin decided, it's enough. I'm taking over. I'm going to be a total dick. And that's what he's, it's such a no-win situation. And it's not black and white. It's just not.
So by the Russians holding it.
But again, I don't know everything about the situation. I'm not going to pretend like I do. I'm not going to pretend like I'm one of these channels that know everything about everything. It's just not who I am. I'm more willing to have a conversation, more willing to engage with you and figure out what's going on together as we learn together. I think anybody that pretends like they know everything that's going on, especially with all the propaganda that's on back and forth of like the ghost of Kyiv and then like how many Russian soldiers have died. There's just so much propaganda to get caught up in. It's unbelievable.
Representative Castro, but I do want to bring the same question to you. We're hearing reports that Russian troops may be short on food and fuel. How would Russia handle these kinds of shortages, and could it...
See, Russian troops short on food and fuel. I don't even know if I believe that. That could be just a demoralizing psychological push that like make the troops feel like, yeah, you're right, I need to turn home and go home.
It's going to be a short, fast affair, and they're not trained in for extended operations over extended distances.
But please let me know y'all's thoughts, because I'm curious. Like, Plato, and again, if I'm answering a text or a comment and you don't see it, it's because I'm live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter at the same time. There's some evidence and examples. Yeah, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Plato, I mean, if you're okay with the government seizing your property because you're a Russian citizen, please let me know. I'm curious your thoughts on that. Mr. Free Ride too, let me know your thoughts on that, because I just don't think it bodes well. It's just like putting the Japanese in internment camps, because we have to. You never know. And
their armed forces.
Another major headline tonight is that massive Russian convoy closing in on the capital city of Kyiv. Do you think that Kyiv could fall? And if it does, what would happen next?
Lindsay, it's really difficult to predict what's going to happen tactically on the battlefield. But I will tell you that I think all of us are inspired by President Zelenskyy, by the mayor of Kyiv, and by the...
Wait, here's the... Okay. Is there some evidence? Okay. In the scenario, I don't have much feeling about that aspect. Okay. To me, I'm more worried about Putin's next move. I am extremely worried about Putin's next move, and you should be too, because... It's just, he's going to take over Ukraine. Then what? There's no way. Is it just going to stop? And it's not like these peace talks are going to actually be peaceful. You can't just like turn around and be like, oops, I'm sorry. He was supposed to win in 3 days and it's getting slow and ugly. Yeah, because he's not putting his full finger on the button, you know? I mean, my heart goes out to Ukrainian people, but I think, you and I both know the size of their army is half the size of NATO. If he decides to turn up the notch, the poor Ukrainian people lose out in the end, and then becomes a guerrilla warfare forever, for a long time, as they're just going to bomb the crap out of that place. That's the only way they're going to win, and that's what's so devastatingly sad about the whole situation. Is because it's only a matter of time before Putin just starts to just bomb civilians because he's losing the battle. But here's this mom. I guess this is the kid that had Ron DeSantis told him to take the mask off if he wanted to. I want to see this. I'm curious how China will react to this. Will it inspire them? Oh, China is watching with close eye on this situation to see. I think they're waiting. They're biding their time. China is a very patient society, patient civilization. Ukraine is the breadbasket of the region. I don't know how this plays in. Yeah, I don't either. It's funny, like I was paying attention a little bit of that world, especially with under Obama and Crimea, but it's just not something I was like completely focused on. I always thought like, the whole Putin thing was more of a corporate media buildup in our minds, and politicians use it because always politicians look for somebody to cast as the other so that they stay in power. They always want you to live in fear so that you look to them for their hope as opposed to yourself.
I'm responsible for him, and I told him to wear that mask. And Governor DeSantis, and he's looking at this adult authority and is telling him, oh, you didn't have to wear the mask.
What was your reaction when you heard the governor tell you and your classmates, remove your mask?
A bit of surprise and shock, more of, okay, this authority figure.
I was like, okay. This poor kid. I bet his mom dragged him to this.
He's asking me to do something that I know is probably going to end up being controversial, so I took mine off.
Did you feel pressured by the governor to do that?
Oh my God, that's such a leading question. Did you feel pressured? Did Governor DeSantis make you do anything you didn't want to do? Mom is hoping for money. You know she is. She's like, baby, build this up. Build this up. This is real. This is something we need to be seriously concerned about. He's like, I don't know what you want me to say, Mom.
It was more of a pressure of an adult figure asking me to do something, and
oh, like your mom?
It's just like, all right, why not?
It's just shocking.
I'm shocking and appalled. I know that we watched Joe Biden and all the politicians have their mask off, kissing and headbutting each other last night, but this is different. Okay?
That the governor told these kids, take off your mask. He pretty much said, take off your mask, it's stupid. And take off your mask, your parents don't matter. Even though I'm telling
take off your mask, your parents don't matter.
telling you, parents matter.
Parents matter.
And he's telling my minor child,
hey, Mr. Freehead, I appreciate you so much, man.
To take off his mask. He's putting us at risk. So, I was upset.
She's such. I can feel the fakeness. She's so shocked and hungry for a piece of the pie before the Titanic. Oh, I know. She's like, wait, can we do that cut one more time? Because I need to get some tea. I'm going to put some water in my face or something like that. Y'all got water? Y'all got some onions or something like that? Y'all got onions?
Crazy as hell.
That was just so silly. I get so, half the time I hate politics, but half the time I love politics because politics gives us beautiful pieces like that. I'm trying to stick to something more interesting.
I don't know what Mississippi is, but it's very old school when it comes to things. And
How
for
dare
me,
you.
being a young black gay woman in
The most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
I love the kid. He's like, yeah, I'm pretty mad. I'm freaking out a little bit, man. Why'd you make me do this interview, Mom? Oh, Beto O'Rourke. What's his real name? Francis. It's like Steven or something. Totally the whitest name ever, and they call him Beto O'Rourke. Did you ever see the Canadian PSA call it She Spilled My Coffee? No. Is that funny? Oh, I'm going to look that up.
Fort Worth, how we doing? Good to be with you. This group of people, and then some.
I'm checking it out right now.
In 2018, made me the first Democrat to win Tarrant County since 1994. And whether I'm in El Paso, whether I'm in Louisville, whether I'm in Texarkana, which is as far away as you can be and still be in the same state. I find
Dark humor is alive and well. I know. Oh, wait, she spilled my coffee from like 11 years ago? It's like 30 seconds long. Wait, is it Opie and Anthony? Or is it, it's like 30 seconds long? Or is it 4 minutes long? There's like a few different ones. It's a government PSA. Okay. I got something. I think this is it. It's shocking. Is it this?
You're doing a real good job on your picture. Coffee. Please.
Wait, what is... Are you drinking Colombian crystal coffee?
You're doing a real good job on your picture. Coffee. Please.
He looks so bad. He looks so bad. I'm sorry. I gotta rewind. He's like, you son of a... you no good. All right, I'm going to try to make it through this PSA without laughing the whole time.
You're doing a real good job on your picture. Coffee. Please.
I'd like some more too, for sure.
She spilled my coffee.
I'm sorry, sir.
I'm sorry. Wait, is he about to lose his mind?
I'm sorry, sir.
You fucking bitch.
Oh my God. This is nuts.
I'll bring a little coffee.
How do you like this?
You wouldn't get away with it here. You shouldn't get away with it at home.
What the frick? What the frick is that? Why did you make me watch that? That's so ridiculous. That was nuts. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. That was so insane. Oh my God. Oh, you're right. That was freaking you bitch. That was freaking insane. Oh.
Russia claims its goal now is to overthrow Ukraine's government, calling it a new Nazi regime.
The boardroom? All right, I'll look that up. Same premise. Oh my God.
Called on Jews around the world to come to the nation's defense.
Oh, that looks so
Zelenskyy
old too.
Tweeting, what is the point of saying never again if the world stays silent when a bomb drops on the same site of Babin Yar? Tonight, a senior U.S. defense official says while Russia has increased missile and artillery attacks on the capital, a convoy heading toward the city is still stalled. But that Russian forces advancing from the south are making progress. The Kremlin insists tough sanctions imposed by President Biden and the West, isolating its banks and oligarchs, though allowing Russia to keep selling its oil and gas will not deter Russia's so-called...
What do you guys think about like the U.S. dollar and the what's going on with us squeezing Russia and then potentially aligning with China, and then all of a sudden our dollar falls? I'm just curious what y'all's thoughts are on that. All right. Home front, domestic violence. The boardroom. Okay. PSA nightmare.
Look at the next slide. You can see now that our operating costs are up 23%.
Ron, I think it's 19.
Refugees the new numbers are right. It is 20%.
You stupid bitch! Don't you ever correct me!
Now that our operating costs are up 20%.
I don't even.
23%.
Okay, I don't even think I could show that video on YouTube.
That turned into a trip through hell.
On my channel.
Your soul to God.
I feel like that'd be like somebody would get triggered by that video. That was so insane. True, the dollar is an illusion. I know it's backed by oil that we don't make.
And I thought this.
I mean, we just continue to print money like it's fun. We're just having fun. We're just printing money. Oh, we don't have to raise taxes on people. We'll just print some more money. Pay it that way.
Kherson.
As Joe Biden says, this bill is paid for.
Air raid shelter. The Eye declares, "Welcome to hell." Another infant is on the front of the mirror, which pleads.
Typically, war drives up the value of American dollar. The more unstable out there pushes money back to the more safe securities. Yeah. And then also with war, we create a lot of, we got Lockheed. We got so many. We're good. We're good at manufacturing that kind of stuff.
The Star dubs protesters who blocked a road to a nuclear reactor heroes. The Mail says the Duchess of Cornwall will give a substantial donation to the paper's fund for Ukrainian refugees.
Yeah. Military is huge. Our military industrial complex is unreal.
You to close our sky.
It's like the problem, but also if we were ever to go to World War III, it would be a huge savior in a lot of ways.
Destroyed many houses. They didn't launch rockets. They dropped bombs. Destroyed many houses.
The sadness is just profound. And Tom joining us. Tom, we're learning about special protections the EU is proposing for those fleeing Ukraine. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Lester, this is a major development that is breaking tonight. The EU is looking to grant special protection status to Ukrainian refugees for up to 3 years. During that time, they would not have to worry about being deported. They could also get worker permits and also social welfare. Lester?
Tom Yamas, thank you, Tom. The U.S. continues to walk a fine line.
But then after that 3 years?
For Ukraine, but the Pentagon is watching. Tonight in an NBC News exclusive, I speak to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin about the stakes and the realities on the ground. We've been watching this convoy that's got the world's attention. It was reported it was stalled. Should we read too much into that? Is it still a potent fighting machine?
There's a lot of combat power that the Russians still have available to them. So they have a number of options.
Yeah, is there an actual, it only takes a few nuclear exchanges to ruin the planet for a nuclear winter. Is there an actual number to that? I'm curious if you know that number or look that up, because I that would just be crazy. Once you start opening that Pandora's box, it's over.
Have answered the...
And then it's just anarchy.
Time, is it necessary to do a reality check on what they're facing, the size of the Russian force?
We are all inspired by what we see from the Ukraine, not just the Ukrainian forces, but Ukrainian people. It's hard to predict which way things are going to go. I'm sure that the Russians would have never predicted that they would be in a place that they are in.
Okay, so like an estimate is total is 100, so just 100 total. That's a lot, though. But still, part of me is like, I feel like the safest place to be in the world right now is South America or something. Like, I just, like, go where the Nazis went. I mean, what? It's dependent on each bomb since they are very huge. Yeah, the nukes and H-bombs. That makes sense.
Have any boots on the ground, so it's very difficult to confirm. The
one H-bomb is like how many thousand nukes? I don't know. Lots. H-bombs are nuts.
It's fallen. This is a very important thing. Not only.
Also, like, I know that people are talking about Putin potentially using biochemical warfare. That would be dumb, but also just he's like on the verge of so many war crimes where the NATO is going to feel like they have to get involved. As I don't know, you've seen Adam Kinzinger telling people to make it a no-fly zone, and I just feel like a lot of our leaders want us to go to war so bad. I wish our politicians were forced to fight on the front lines, because then maybe they would be a little bit more relaxed about some of the things that they're excited about. and then we would have actual real leaders involved.
You know,
it only takes a few EMPs for the whole. That would make sense. A big EMP. Do you guys have emergency food supplies? Are you guys into that, or is that too prepper for you? I'm curious. People in the chat, like, do you have like solar energy or a generator or 3-month food supply or something like that? After the pandemic, I got like a 3-month food supply because I was thinking, you never know. Looks like a 50-to-1 ratio. Oh, okay. Jeez. That's nuts. 50-to-1. But do you guys do emergency food supplies? What's this? Nah, if things get bad, I don't want to stick around. That's understandable. This is not the life I want. Mr. Freeride said yes, yes. Yeah, I got some too. It's just the guy dancing in front of the Russian tanks. Best.
in Europe, and we don't have to be here. We didn't have to be here. This is a choice by one man. But again, I think it speaks to the relevance of the NATO alliance. I got to tell you, it's impressive to see the way that that countries have come together for a common cause here.
Defense Secretary Austin, part of our conversation at the Pentagon earlier today. Concern about Ukraine and economic worries, the major themes of President Biden's State of the Union speech. Today, the president took his message on the road. Here's Kristen Welker.
President Biden taking...
Oh, what's this?
So 24 hours ago, I did a video in front of the fencing with all the law enforcement, with all the people. 24 hours ago, the State of the Union was last night, and now look, 24 hours later, in the dark of night, you have them taking down all of the fencing. Look at it. We're at 10 o'clock at night, the day after the State of the Union. So all of that was for show for Joe Biden. How much did it cost taxpayers to pay all of these people to put all of this fence up? The American people want to know.
It doesn't matter. You had to make sure the white supremacists didn't get in there.
The president cited a painful reality for families.
Freaking crazy.
With all the bright spots in our economy, inflation is robbing them of gains they thought otherwise they would be able to feel.
And he called on Congress to pass.
I want to feel these gains, bro.
Republicans blasted.
The president tried yet again to revive the zombie spending plans, which a bipartisan majority of senators have already killed and buried because they would make inflation even worse.
Oh, what's this? This is old Julian Assange.
Has been one of the hopeful things that I've discovered is that nearly every war that has started in the past 50 years has been a result of media lies. The media could have stopped it if they had searched deep enough. If they hadn't reprinted government propaganda, they could have stopped it. But what does that mean? Well, that means basically populations don't like wars. And populations have to be fooled into wars. Populations don't willingly and with open eyes go into a war. So if we have a good media environment, then we'll also have a peaceful environment.
Yeah, but the corporate press loves war, so why would they would never not do what they should be doing. Corporate press never does what they should be doing. They do what they shouldn't be doing because they know it'll get more clicks and get us to watch. Like right here, we're just watching.
White House will still focus on vaccines. It's also investing in genomic sequencing as it braces for new variants. And in an effort to prevent economic and school shutdowns,
I don't want to hear about that anymore.
Themselves from what's playing out in their country. Ian, I know a lot of people here in this country are going to wonder how these children will survive this if the Russians take over. Will they be protected? And we're also learning about breaking news tonight.
Reports you see that flash behind him?
Ukrainian city may have just fallen in the south. This would be the first large city to fall to the Russians.
You see him like, ugh.
Yeah, that's right, David. I mean, the situation in the hospital is heartbreaking. I mean, some of the babies who needed bone marrow transplants have been taken successfully across the border into Poland. And as I'm talking to you, you can hear what's happening in the city. Here in Kiev, some of the other children, of course, are listening to that sound of the bombardment. They're hiding in the basement. They're fearful that the war's coming to us. As for Kherson, that's potentially a sound that the war is closing in on many cities in the country. The Russian advance may have been slowed, but it hasn't been stopped. David?
And as they brace there in Kyiv as well, Ian, you reported there the UN voting 141-5 to condemn Russia's invasion. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be curious who voted against condemning the Russians.
Yeah, pretty overwhelming condemnation of Russia. There were even some traditional allies abstaining along with India and China, but it's a fairly motley crew of nations who stood side to side with Russia. Just 4 countries: Syria, North Korea, Belarus and Eritrea. Most of them, as Russia is now becoming, pariah nations. David?
All right, Ian, panel leading off our coverage. Ian, please, you and the team stay safe tonight in Kyiv. And tonight the UN is now reporting 1 million refugees have now left Ukraine, fleeing to save their families, their children, not knowing if they'll ever come back, wondering when they'll see their fathers again. And tonight here also the stories of those who have chosen to stay behind, what they're now doing, what they're now making to arm and protect family members turned fighters. Matt Gutman in Lviv tonight.
Tonight, they keep coming, on foot, on buses and trains. Infants being carried across, the elderly wheeled through the...
What is this? Glenn Youngkin? Okay, he could beat Obama in basketball.
Inflation is everywhere, the likes of which we haven't seen since the malaise of Jimmy Carter. Parents are frustrated by almost 2 years of bureaucrats messing with their kids' schooling. Everyday Americans see their freedom, jobs, and livelihoods stolen from them by petty tyrants drunk on power with lockdowns and mandates. The State of the Union is frankly pretty poor, and Americans are largely unhappy with Biden's performance. Our 2 years of lockdowns, ballooning national debt, and out-of-control inflation threatens our very national security. Congress added trillions of dollars in new debt to pay people to stay home from the lockdowns that Congress mandated. When gas goes up every day, when food prices increase weekly, these are signs of real trouble. Massive inflation.
Yeah, it is.
That hedge of barricades and these spikes, they're weapons of defense. This frigid yard, their foxhole. Sviatoslav has signed up to fight, but he's still waiting for a gun.
Are you afraid? Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
His wife and 3-year-old daughter are safe in Poland. He told his little girl she was going on vacation.
She's talking to me, Daddy, come to me, please. And you cried. Everything will be okay.
And across town tonight, an art gallery turned into a military workshop. The thrum of hundreds of young people, mostly women, ripping fabric, cutting strips, and those fast fingers threading camo nets.
We are creating nets to hide our military forces from snipers and different Russian forces.
Some big enough to cover tanks,
crazy.
Others
it's like World War II
the size
stuff.
of a throw blanket. Before the war, Bogdana was a college instructor. Now she oversees this workshop. Bogdana as courageous as any soldier.
You will stand in front of the tanks with your bodies.
Yes, yes. I don't want to live in the country under Russia.
Matt Gutman back with us again from Lviv tonight. And Matt, that number you reported there, the UN now says more than 1 million refugees. And of course, you're also reporting here on those who have chosen to stay. You've heard from so many of them.
David, they're telling us that their greatest weapon right now is their unity. And this is a nation that is now fully mobilized to fend off that Russian invasion. Every resource, every person devoted to fighting them off. David.
It's been extraordinary to witness, Matt. Thank you. Tonight, the U.S. is moving to tighten the squeeze on Vladimir Putin and the oligarchs, the richest Russians who surround him, closing American airspace to Russian planes, imposing new sanctions on oil and gas interests, and moving to seize oligarchs' assets in the U.S. In fact, the Secretary of State today warning that they could freeze and seize yachts, private jets, and their estates. Could these oligarchs be a way of finally getting to Putin to influence his decisions moving forward? James Longman from Moscow again.
It's almost like they're hoping these oligarchs like eventually take him out because of how crippled they're going to become.
Into Ukraine, hitting the 1 week mark. The US now threatening to seize the assets of any Russian oligarch, wealthy businessman with ties to the Kremlin, that violates its sanctions.
We will freeze and seize their yachts, their private...
Freeze and seize.
In world capitals.
The US not releasing new names yet, but this week the EU sanctioning 26 individuals and 1 company. Among them, the CEO of the state oil company Rosneft, another man known as Putin's wallet, and the insurance company Sogaz, partially owned by a close Putin ally. Some Russian oligarchs are calling those sanctions unfair. Others now publicly calling
of course
for an
they are.
end to Putin's war.
The strategy is to make their lives, which are very comfortable, uncomfortable, by sanctioning them personally and by blocking access to those assets.
The wave of punishing financial measures and
You see her like showing her book in the corner.
its airspace to Russian flights and aircraft and blocking oil and gas equipment to Russia. Boeing also suspending all parts, maintenance and technical support for Russian airlines. Tonight, Russia risking a financial meltdown. The ruble's value plunging to a record low, but recovering to 1 US cent. The stock market has been closed since the weekend. The Kremlin spokesman conceding that Russia's economy is under severe pressure, but saying the country has strength, potential, and plans.
And James Longman back with us from Moscow tonight. And James, in addition to these businessmen being obviously very rich, the U.S. and its allies think that they might have a significant influence on Putin here moving forward.
Yeah, David, and it's also interesting that some of these oligarchs have called for an end to the war. Have they done that with Putin's blessing, providing him with a way out? Or could the West be thinking of these men? It actually could challenge Putin himself. David?
James Longman with us again tonight from Moscow. James, thank you. Our coverage of the Russian invasion of Ukraine for tonight. In the meantime, back here at home now into the pandemic, the White House outlining its new COVID roadmap as the country moves into this new chapter. Masks.
Snore. All right, I don't really see. I thought I would see a little bit more going on in the world right now. Do you guys see anything that's going on? What's this? That's incredible. All right. Married woman, 24, car. Oh my God. Hit out at a married woman accused of choking him to death with a chain during. Oh my. Dude, people are nuts. In Green Bay, Wisconsin. Oh my. This woman? That is not how I assumed that she would look like. God, I picture like some big, crazy looking person with tattoos all over her face and maybe like a hat that says, I like chainsaws. First degree homicide, mutilating or corpse. Oh my God. Sexual assault. Dude. Plato, you are dark, dude. I like it though. That picture looks kind of nice. Oh no. I don't like that link. I don't know what you just sent me. I'm not gonna click that link. That's a search. It's her. Okay. I'll look her up. Taylor. I like that you use the Brave browser, by the way. That is crazy. I would never assume that she was the one that's like chopping up bodies.
For allegedly being too drunk to fly. Officials say he blew more than 4 times the legal limit for pilots on a breathalyzer test. He has been removed from his duties. He could face federal charges.
Hit his penis in a bucket? Dude, people are nuts. I'm not going to click on images. I just assume there's probably some half-naked shots. I'm just not the vibe. Oh, okay, she looks a little crazy. That's way crazier looking.
from inside Ukraine.
Click it. No way, dude.
It informs, it inspires, and it's...
I don't know you well enough, dude. Look at the cute pic, though. Yeah, it's not cute, dude. She's psychotic. It was in the corner.
Journalist on the ground.
All right, I'll look at her one more time.
We cover what you need to know and bring your newsfeed to life in prime time and streaming live. It's your news playlist.
Okay.
Top story with Tom Yamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. There's no better
She looks crazy.
for fun with friends.
I bet he like cheated on her or something.
Golf buddy or an afternoon alone.
Cut his wiener off? I mean, people are nuts.
To reach safety away from the conflict.
Oh, swipe right. You would? Even with the story you know about her now, you would still swipe right? No way, dude. Doesn't matter what you look like. If you're that crazy, never would have guessed you would violate my car. I know. She doesn't look like the type. Though the neck tattoo could have been a... I don't trust people with neck tattoos. Just kidding. You never know, though. They're hit or miss. They could be the craziest person. They could be like a really great person you could talk to, and then they could just like cut your penis off and put it in a bucket. It's either or. I would, because I would defend myself, unlike that poor fellow. Yeah. He is a poor fellow. If he would only know what he's now missing. All right, this has been fun, guys. I appreciate you guys so much for joining me. It means a lot to me. I'll be going live again on Friday. Even if I got my unprepared, I would end her before. I believe it, Plato. I believe it. I'm gonna go, guys. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. Again, I'm gonna go live again on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Eastern. At the beginning of the show is more of a podcast format where I talk about stuff I want to talk about. Then towards the end, we're kind of hanging out and chatting and talking. So I appreciate you guys. This is my first day getting into the swing. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm setting to a schedule, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Dog face pony
Hey, appreciate you, Plato. Means a lot to me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. But look out for my podcast. I'll probably still put stuff out. But I freaking love you. Bye.
Welcome to the revolution.